Good morning, guys. Welcome to the Ask the Expert show. My name is Gary Cassady. I'm your host this morning, and thanks again for tuning in. Today, I've got a extremely special guest by the name of Greg Walker. He's a entrepreneur, best-selling author. He's actually owned several franchises, and I'm going to bring him on. He's going to he's a motivational speaker. He's been speaking all over the world with. He's been on stage with guys like Les Brown. Let's hear it for Greg Walker. Greg, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, Gary. Listen, I'm blessed to be alive, blessed to see your face and hear your voice.
Yeah. So, well, hey, I appreciate you being on the show this morning. And, one of the things I always like to start off with is, get a little bit to know about my guests and stuff. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, Greg, and a little bit about your background?
I'm 54 years old. I'm Greg Walker. I was born on the south end of Columbus. I have 14 siblings. I'm one of 15 children.
Wow.
Basically, I'm the only one to ever make it out of the ninth grade in my family history. Graduated high school, and I graduated high school because a teacher changed my grades so I could be the first one to ever graduate my family. Went to the University of Florida for 1 year. Hated college. Didn't want to go to college. Back in the 80s, if you didn't go to college, you were a loser. Well, now, Gary, we understand that college is not for everyone. That education is not inside a box, but self-education is where it's at right now in 2020. So I'm dropped out. My wife and I had a baby who's now 32, beautiful blonde girl. And when I was at the University of Florida, I saw this thing called Subway. Didn't know what a franchisor were. I was talking to the owner. Got back to Columbus and met a guy who helped me. He sold me my first store. He financed me. Didn't know what that meant, financing someone. And he helped me, and my life changed from there. I became the second largest Subway owner in Central Ohio at one time. And then I took that. The guy who was the biggest Subway owner said, Greg, I think your next step is to be a master developer. Had no idea what that was. Well, it's overseeing franchises and selling franchises. So with the help of my business partner Tarek Muhammad, we helped open up over 200 taco burrito franchises in the U.S. and Puerto Rico and Hawaii. Age 48, a man named Les Brown told me that I need to speak, that I have an ability to impact people. I didn't believe him, so I joined this thing called Toastmasters in 2015. They told me I had a gift. I could go to the World Championship of Public Speaking. Never heard of such a thing. Once I found out what it was, Gary, I'm the person who likes to move fast. So within 6 months, I lost. I took second in the competition to go to Las Vegas. Then got a call that the guy who beat me had a heart attack, so he couldn't go. So I didn't know what I was doing. So after that, I started getting paid speaking gigs. So 2016, I left Toastmasters, didn't really do it because I don't wear suits, Gary. And when I first joined Toastmasters, I did what they told me to do. I didn't wear a hat, I wore a suit. I conformed to what they did. But my buddy T. Wayne Gatewood, the builder, who was my big brother mentor, he always wanted me to be me, right? But I thought I had to be who Toastmasters wanted me to be. So 2016, I didn't do it. He died in 2016. And 2017, I told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm going back. She said, you go back where? I said, I'm going back to the World Championship. She says, dear, you beat out 38,000 people. That's pretty hard. Your group in Whitehall, the Toastmasters, is the oldest, 55 years, and no one's done that. I said, I'm going to do it. And I did it, Gary. I went to Vancouver, Canada. I went to Vancouver, Canada, and guess what? I wore a black and red suit because Les Brown asked me to wear the black suit with the red tie for power. But I wore my black and red hat called the Big Dreamer and my black and red Nike shoes. And if anyone's listening to this, I want to tell you this. Never let unqualified people qualify you. Because everyone at Toastmasters told me, Greg, they will not send you to represent Ohio wearing a hat and wearing those tennis shoes.
Yep.
That's what people told me, Gary. Even up to 20 minutes before I went on stage, right, to try to get to Vancouver, Canada. They told me that. But I said, this is me. I'm doing it. If I'm going to lose again, I'm going to lose being me.
Yep.
So they weren't qualified because they never competed in a competition. The 6 world champions that reached out to me, every one of those champions, Gary, told me, do it without hesitation.
Yep.
They said, Greg, if you want to wear a diaper and it has something to do with your speech, wear the diaper.
Yeah.
See, they were the qualified people. So I
Yep.
tell people that all the time, never let unqualified people qualify you. So I did that. Someone told me, Greg, you need to turn your story into a book. I said, I don't write books. I really don't even read books. I don't. And I found a friend who helped me write a book, and I wrote my book, Dream to Grow Rich, How to Dream, Grind, and Hustle Your Way to Success. It became a USA Today #1, Amazon #1 bestseller. And I told you I graduated at the bottom of my high school class, but the first person who wrote on my book, Gary, was Forbes magazine. I got Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant's coach, Jim Clemens. He wrote something that one of 3 men has 10 NBA rings. I'm not in the National Speakers Association because I don't believe in buying titles.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay to be in that. But I have Mike Frank, who was a 10-year president of the NSA, who wrote something on my book. So I tell people,
Wow.
if you surround yourself with the right people, if you just be you, be all unapologetic. I can't say that word. Not apologize for being who you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The world will accept you. Because Gary, I believe that the reason why I didn't win the world championship was because I wore a suit and I'm not comfortable. When I'm speaking to Coca-Cola, I spoke to CNN. When I'm speaking to professional athletes, they accept me more as who I am.
Yep.
When I was in Atlanta with my nieces, when I'm at CNN, I had my hat and my dream, grind, hustle shirt on because I think that's the only 3 things that you need to succeed at anything. Is a dream, a big dream like Walt Disney, a daily grind like we all do, and then that hustle. What are you doing after you get off your 9 to 5? Because I tell people your 9 to 5 pays your bills. Your 5 to faint. You work from 5 till you faint. That builds your legacy right there.
That's awesome.
So the next show, that's a little bit about me. So known around the world as the Big Dreamer. It's funny when I was speaking to people in Zambia, Africa, a young lady asked me, she said, "Hey, brother, why your mother name you Big Dreamer?" I said, she did. I said, my name is Greg, but that's how you know me. So that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. I got a little bit of a similar story, Greg. I started in the insurance business when I was 17, going on 18 years old. And, I always looked up to the older guys in the insurance agency, and they wanted me, the white shirt, red tie, sports coat, the briefcase had to look a certain way. And I struggled. I looked like I was like 12 years old going out and talking to these business owners. And I didn't, my first year, Greg, I sucked at sales, and I made 1 sale my entire first year. And in my sale, I made less than $100 on my first sale, ran up thousands of dollars. And I found a mentor that kind of took me under his wing. And what had happened is these older gentlemen, I love these guys to death still to this day, but they tried to help me and make me form to what they were. And so, like, one of the things they wanted me to do is they bought me fake glasses, and I put fake glasses on to make me look older and more mature, right? They give me a picture of their kid and said, "Hey, here's a story to make you look more mature." So I had 18, 19 years old at that time, getting ready to tell these people I have like a child, I'm getting married, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of hit me one day when somebody called me and said, "Hey, how's Johnny doing?" And I didn't register me when I took the phone call, and they're like, I'm like, "Who's Johnny?" And he's like, "Your son, Johnny." I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding!" I was like devastated, And then my mentor was like, and I realized at that time, like, I wasn't being me, and so I didn't need the tie, I didn't need the white shirt, I would go purposely get like a collared shirt, like a purple shirt, and wear it. And it would just like blow everybody out of the water. I'd go on appointments with jeans, And so I can really relate to that. It wasn't until I started being myself when I started really succeeding and finding mentors and stuff. So, yeah. So I appreciate you sharing.
That's where, I tell everyone, if you love wearing a suit or a tuxedo and you feel comfortable, because I know some people, it's like my big brother, Les Brown. When I see him in a T-shirt when we're just eating chicken wings, I say, dude, you look goofy. You look goofy in a T-shirt. Because the world's so used to seeing him in the last 45 years in a black suit and a red tie.
Yep.
So I tell people, be who you are, because when you're truly your authentic self, that's when people see that.
Yeah.
And in 2020, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, they didn't like wearing suits.
Yep.
So the world has changed a little bit, and people can accept us for who we are.
Yep. Absolutely. So now I always like to talk about mentorships and mottos. I've got a motto that I live by all the time, Greg. Act like a champion. And I was featured in a book and wrote a book a little bit about it. And it's attitude, conditioning, and techniques. And so I feel that you got to have the right attitude, the right conditioning, and the right techniques to be successful. And so I love seeing, like, like you're talking about your book, Dream to Grow Rich and everything. And you've got, how to dream and grind and hustle to be successful. Can you tell us a bit more about your books and a little bit about your mentors that you've had in the past?
Yeah, my mentor, one of my great mentors was a guy who I called a fool and a loser. When my teacher would bring people in to talk to us, but I had a chip on my shoulder in 7th, 8th grade, and his name was Dave Thomas of Wendy's. I didn't really know he was a mentor at the time, but he would meet with us, or someone from his staff would meet once a Saturday every month for a year, and it was rarely him. And I didn't know my teacher brought him specifically for me in there because she wanted to touch me. And I tell Gary, I didn't really go because we really didn't know who Dave Thomas or Wendy's was in 1977, 78, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's only a couple. They didn't have a lot of stores then. I went because they brought free Wendy's, right? And when you have 14 siblings and there's no food in the house, you go to eat that free Wendy's.
Exactly.
So I had that. When I got into Subway, I had Fred DeLuca. So I had 2 billionaire mentors. And then I had the billionaire mentor in speaking, Mr. Les Brown, who had his big career here at WVKO in Columbus. So when you grow up in an all-black neighborhood, right, as a child, and there's only one black radio station, there's a DJ named Les Brown.
Yeah.
Right, you kind of listen to him. He has kids that still live here, who I'm great friends with. So I've had great mentors. I had a mentor, George and Juanita O'Connor, who taught me great things. They taught me, what nice things were, how to treat people. So I really did have a lot of great mentors. I didn't know what a mentor was back then. And I tell people, Gary, listen, you don't have to have a mentor face to face.
Yeah.
Right, because Dale Carnegie can be your Jim Rome can be your mentor if you're listening to them guys every day. And that's what people don't understand. I told someone I was talking to a young man, and he knew every word for word what Jim Rohn said. And I said, Jim Rohn is your mentor. He said, I've never met Jim Rohn. He died. I said, but you can tell me everything about him.
Exactly.
That's a mentor. A mentor just means you're learning from them. You're learning from their mistakes. So that's what I'm trying to get a hold of, and not just young people, but people our age too, that you don't have to be face to face with a mentor. A mentor is just someone who's teaching you a better way, and you're learning from their mistakes.
Yeah.
Right. Someone might listen to your podcast, 8 years ago, and you and I passed away, but they can call
They still
you
learn
and I
from it.
their mentor. Yeah, they can learn from it. So I hope someone gets that out of this talk today, that you don't have to actually know the person to have them as a mentor.
Yeah. And that brings up a lot of great points. I mean, I've read a lot of books from guys that I still look up to just because, from their book, I've learned from their book and everything. And I tend to kind of follow those actions. And if they come out with a new book, I get the new book. And so you do bring up a good point, because I didn't necessarily look at some of those guys as my mentors, but I essentially go to them for my advice. I go to
That's
their
right.
book. Yeah. So that's a great point. Yeah. Now, you've had a lot of success with business as well. And before we actually went live, we started having a little bit of a conversation, and both of us kind of hit some of the points. Like, we love helping small businesses out. We love helping business out, or helping people out in general. How is it, like for you, like, giving back to the community, giving back to like a business owner, seeing that person get to the next level? I mean, that's what really charges me. What is that for you? Like,
I get high off of it. Listen, I told you a story where I took my niece Savannah. I raised my 2 nieces, Savannah and Casey. Their mother's my 15th sibling. I raised them since they were born. They're now going to be 20 and 15. So we went to where both of us live at, to an ice cream place. And there's a young lady there. She owned it. She was crying. I talked about it. Well, they bought this business they were going to sell before COVID-19 hit, out destroyed it. And anyone who doesn't know about small business with the emergency loans, you had to be in business before February 15th to get any type of help. Well, they weren't there. So she was just in shock. No customers were coming in. So I just introduced myself. My niece Savannah rolled her eyes because she knew her uncle was going to talk to people. And at 15, she doesn't think that's cool, right? So I just had a conversation with her. I told her I'm going to give her my book. I said, I would love to talk to you and your husband. And after I left there, she looked at me, a little Indian lady. She looked at me. She says, thank you very much. I said, the one thing I want you to understand is you are not alone. You are not on an island. Every small business, even big business, is hurting right now. Gary, me being in the restaurant business, when I hear restaurant owners, they're crying and they think it's just them. I read a scary stat the other day from the National Restaurant Review. And let me say this. President Trump said, we cannot let the airlines fail, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the restaurant business is 5 times bigger than the airlines. Wow. 5 times bigger. And I just read 2 days ago, my wife sent it to me. It was in Forbes magazine. It said 82% of restaurants will not make a profit, will not break even in 2020. Yeah. 82%. And you're seeing businesses. I saw Logan's Roadhouse in Pickerington, Ohio.
They're all closing down.
It closed down.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're done. Right? Yep. AMC theaters almost didn't come back. So I want anyone who has a small business to understand you're not on an island yourself. No, everyone's struggling right now, but you got to get out and you got to talk to people. So when I come back from something like that, my wife says, you spoke to someone, didn't you? I said, yes, I did. Because it just gives me a high because I love helping people win. Yeah. And I tell people on my Instagram, on my contact line, it says, I help people win. Yep. I love helping people win. I'm not one of those guys, people all the time say, why do you say your 32-year-old daughter, who has she does real estate. She bought a Snap Fitness gym. Why do you want her and your nieces to rise above you? Because great leaders create other leaders.
Absolutely.
And anyone who doesn't want someone to rise above them has an ego. Mm-hmm. Yep. When I see my former employees who are doctors, pastors, teachers, I look at them and I love when they say, Mr. Walker, thank you. And I'll say, what? Thank you for what? They'll say, it's because of you and your wife that I'm doing what I'm doing. I say, no, young man or young lady, you were the rocket. I was just the fuel. Yeah. So I love helping people. And I tell people, Gary, these restaurant owners and business owners, I tell them, when you get in that funk, when you start getting depressed, the easiest way to get out of that funk or depression is to go serve someone, help someone. Yep. Right? Find someone who's building a deck and you're good at doing woodwork. Just take off a day and go help that person. You will feel much better. But you cannot sit in that dark room and think about everything that could come. Yeah. Right? Because what could come is we could die today. I'm going to my dentist right now. I could pull out and be hit by a truck. So why worry about what's coming? Mm-hmm. So if you're good at something, go help someone if you're getting in that depression mode, because you never want to just sit and just reflect on it. You want to get out there and serve others. Yep. Get out and do something, serve them, give back a little bit. Absolutely. So, that's right. Yeah. That's very cool. Let me figure out how to answer this or ask this question here. People, because you got some good points. Like, I help a lot of people out. I've been through it myself where there's just some days you just want to give up, right? And so how do you overcome those? Like, I remember when I first got in the insurance business, and then even when I got into the real estate business, I had to go through tons and tons of struggles just to get where I'm at now. But one of the things I always did was I kept getting up and going. I refused to give up. And I don't know if I'm insane for doing that, but like there's, I would make 1,000 phone calls if I had to, on a day-to-day basis. And so what is it, what do you tell people when they get into the situations? Well, it's like what you said, you just get back up, right? I don't know what it is, but winners win and losers lose. You have to ask yourself, I tell people all the time, ask yourself 2 questions. What do you want? and how bad do you want it? You know, in my book, I talk about how I basically slept in my first restaurant for 3 years, only leaving about an hour, hour and a half to go see my baby girl because I
Yeah.
knew I had to become successful. I knew that I had to become successful. So I did whatever I did. And when you want something bad enough, you will do it. So you have to understand, everyone goes through those thought processes, right? And like we talked before, everyone thinks that every small business owner is raking in money.
Yeah.
No, with this COVID thing hitting, people found out they didn't even have enough money to make payroll. Most small businesses are worrying how they're going to pay their employees. They're
Yep.
not raking it. So what I always tell myself, Greg, how bad do you want this? All you have to do is just keep grinding and keep hustling. You have the dream. Now, how bad do you want it? Most
Hmm.
people want it. Gary, my wife and I, I don't have a college degree either as my wife. We met these guys, these three guys, in the early 90s, there's the bagel craze all through Ohio, the bagel craze. And then
Yeah.
the frozen yogurt. Remember that?
Yep.
So the bagel craze, we met these three guys and they had this business plan. It's right. I didn't even have a business plan, but I think we already had 4 Subways at the time.
Hmm.
And this guy gave me this business plan. Well, my business plan was just 2 pages. These 3 guys who graduated from Ivy League schools had this big binder and they had all these colorful graphs and this and this and this and this. Well, I met them and they said, we were entrepreneurs at one time. I said, really, what'd you do? They said, we opened some bagel shops. I said, really? That's pretty cool. I said, how many years did you have them? And they said, oh, we only had them for like 6 months. And I said, 6 months, what happened? They said, oh, I got too hard and we just left.
Wow.
And I said, and you call yourself an entrepreneur? 6
Yeah.
months? 6 months, you're still, the baby still got the bottle. You're still
Exactly.
burping the baby, right? So here I was thinking, you didn't want that bad enough. What happened was you graduated from Ivy League school, all 3 of you, which are big giant business plan with all the graphs. Mommy and daddy gave you money. So it didn't work out after 6 months. So you're going to take mommy and daddy's money and just go move on to something else.
Yep.
See, they didn't want it. The person who really wanted it is the person who was working, from open to close. And then if they did have a day off, they're going out and meeting teachers, pastors, real estate agents. They're doing
Yep.
everything to market themselves. And that's what you got to do. You just
Yep.
got to say, I want this so bad that even if it rains on my parade, I'm not going to be denied my gift.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing. I can't tell you how many doors I've had to knock on, getting started. Never, wondering where my next check was going to be, type of scenario. We didn't have,
right. It really is true what Les Brown always taught me. Make your vitamin daily.
Yep.
Because if you think about it, Gary, when a guy's asking a girl out, right, or a girl's asking, there's a lot of no's, aren't there?
Absolutely.
But guys don't give up.
Yep.
They don't give up. But when we get into our adult world and we start to open our own business or whatever, why do most people give up and they get a couple of no's? And what Les Brown always taught me is every no is a closer step to a yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
And you don't, and in the business world, you don't have to hit a home run. Everyone always says swing for fences. No, you just got to swing to get on first base.
Yep.
And then when you get on first base, you got to figure out how to get to second and third and how to get to home. So I tell people all the time, stop swinging for the fences. Just get on that base. Just open the doors of your business.
Exactly. Yep. I don't know if you know this about me or not, Greg. I help a lot of people like raise money for like real estate deals and so forth. And some of my newer students, like they're like big challenges, and they got that guy, that one friend that they know that's like a multi-millionaire, right? And then all of a sudden all they want to do is go to that one person, and then they're going to get rejected because they don't want to give them money right away because they're just starting out. And one of the things I've always taught my guys is like the first thing we do before we even leave right now is we plan an event, or because we do like a lot of like live seminar type stuff. We're planning that for a few weeks out, and we're going right now and doing it. We're going to do it. We're taking action immediately versus waiting around for business cards. We don't need business cards, right? We don't need flyers. We don't need brochures. Let's get everything, start talking, getting the momentum and taking action right now, moving forward. And that's one of the things that helped me success is just taking action. And regardless if I had everything in place, I still took action and went out and done it. Made offers on real estate, whatever it may be. I didn't even know where I was even getting the money, at the time when I was making offers in real estate. So, yeah.
Gary, that's the key. That's the key right there, because I have my own speaker academy.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been speaking that long, but when Les Brown told me, Greg, it's next step, why don't you have a speaking academy? I said, Les, I've only been speaking for 4 years. There's people who can outspeak me. He said, but young man, you spoke to people from Zambia, Africa, Israel, to Detroit, to LA, back to Ohio. You've done a lot of great things. So I wasn't ready to do anything like that. He said, was you ready when you asked Jan to marry you? No. Actually, I didn't ask my wife to marry me 32 years. I gave her sister the ring and asked her to ask for me. That's a whole nother story, right? I wasn't ready when I opened my first Subway restaurant, right? Yep. I wasn't ready for anything. So I thought I had to be ready, and I was so worried, Gary. I only wanted one person to come to my first academy, my Impact Speaker Academy held here in Columbus, Ohio. I had 29.
Awesome.
I only wanted one. I had 29. So I tell people this. Most people who are waiting for the perfect time to do anything are still waiting for the perfect time.
Exactly.
To do something. I tell people, as Les Brown says, jump and grow your wings on the way down. Just do it, because perfection stops so many people. I love what Richard Branson said, who owns Virgin Airlines. Always say yes for an opportunity and figure it out on the way.
Yeah.
Figure it out on the way. We have this thing called operations manual in Subway. It's like that thick. In 30 years, Gary, I've only opened maybe 2 pages of it.
Wow. Got to figure it out.
And not because I'm smart, because I graduated with a 1.9 grade point average, right? Yeah. It's because it's just I do it along the way. And once people start figuring that out, I have this quote I put in my Impact Speaker Academy on one of my Instagram posts. And it says, when you keep telling yourself, I'll wait for the right time to do something, I'll do it right now.
Yeah, that's powerful. I love it.
Right now, there's someone, because what a lot of people say, like my book first came out, someone said, it's funny because I was with Les Brown, he read the forward, and someone said, Greg, you got a lot of misspelled words in your book. And I felt bad, right? I kind of put my head down as this lady's spending $34.99 on my book, right? Yep. And Les looked at her and says, ma'am, it says best-selling author, not best grammar author. Right? And he told me this. He said, young man, if anyone ever says you suck as an author, as a speaker, as a restaurateur, as a father, a husband, ask them this: how many times have you done it?
Yeah.
Because successful people will never criticize you or I, Gary. Successful people will always try to help us.
Yep.
Right? They'll pull us to the side and say, hey, Greg, you know what? You might not want to have all those crumpled pages in your book, straighten them out a little bit. Yeah. Right. It's always the negative people. It's always the people who have done nothing in their life that try to criticize people. So I tell people, start before you're ready. And when I say that, it doesn't mean if you're a truck driver and you've never worked at a pizza shop, don't stop driving your truck at $100,000 a year and try to open a pizza shop.
Yeah.
But if you're a truck driver and you grew up if you're a truck driver and you grew up in the pizza business with your grandparents, and you want to do that, by all means, leave your trucking and go do that.
Yep.
Because I truly believe everyone has a calling, a gift. And people say, what if I don't have a calling? You do. It's that thing when you're at your crappy job that you hate, when you're just thinking about it all the time.
Yeah.
That's pulling at you. That's your gift. That's your gift pulling at you saying, I got to do it. I got to do it. It's just most people are fearful. And I tell people fear has 2 meanings. What most of my family did, face everything and run, or what I do is I face everything and I rise.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've had it when I went to the World Championship Public Speaking as a type 1 diabetic. I got a sore on my foot. And as type 1 diabetic, our wounds are healed. So, Gary, I'm sitting here now from 2017 August. I had an amputation on my foot, 50% off, taken off. I had 13 operations. I slept in a hyperbaric chamber 2 hours daily for 6 months. My wound still isn't healed, right? That did not stop me going to the World Championship Public Speaking. When my doctor told me, Greg, you cannot go, And I said, listen, I'm the first dude ever to go in 90 years, right? I'm going. Me,
Yeah.
the quiet guy. So he said there's a risk that you could lose your leg in your life. I took the risk. I took the
Wow.
risk. Now I have the picture of me. I have that picture. So, because Gary, the worst death is a death of regret. And I never wanted to be that person, say, when I'm on a rocking chair, 70, 80, 90 years old, and saying, I wonder if I could have won that world championship public speaking.
Yep.
No. And that's why I tell people, what are you willing to risk? I risked my leg, right? My poor wife has to wrap my foot every single day to take care of my wound since August 2017.
Wow.
Right. And I get to walk a little bit. I have one more big surgery. I'm going to have a cage put in my leg to straighten out my leg. But I get to walk a little bit. I'm walking from my car to my dentist, right? Because I use perspective. So you have to ask yourself, what do you want and how bad do you want it? And not let anything stop you. Right now, someone less qualified than you or I, Gary, right? Less qualified than both of us are out there doing something bigger than what we want to do.
Yep. Absolutely. Man, that's an amazing story, man. I didn't know that about you. I didn't know that, every day that you're
my doctor begged me not to go, Gary. I have pictures of me. He put a boot on it, and he knew what I was going to say. When he said, "Greg, you can't go," I said, "Doc, you know me. You know how I didn't ask my wife to marry me. You know how I couldn't hold meetings in my restaurants. I was a shy guy, shy adult."
Yeah.
And he said, "That's what I thought you were going to say." So he put a boot on my leg, and my buddy Mark Menard, who has a huge podcast called Elevating Beyond, he went with me because my wife couldn't go, my nieces couldn't leave school, and we were out there. I used to wear a Fitbit. Now I wear a bracelet that says "Addicted to Success," right? And I believe when in Rome, Roman.
Oh, you there? Oh, we lost you.
There?
Yeah, there you are.
Sorry. Yeah, I forgot to turn my phone off and mute.
Oh,
and someone called me. But yeah, I went and I was taking 10,000 steps a day at a time. So my buddy came out there. We were taking like 49,000. So my leg got even more swollen. And I tell people, Gary, when you find your true purpose, and I found out my true purpose at age 49 after joining Toastmasters, and that is impacting people, nothing could stop me. I wanted to go. And my doctor said, Greg, you have to stop speaking. I spoke with Les Brown in New York City. I went to Atlanta. I went to Detroit, went to California 3 times in 1 month. And my leg got so infected. It got so infected, I came home one day. I had a temperature of 105. And that's when I went in for my first of 13 surgeries. I had my amputation.
Wow. Man, that's just
so you have to ask yourself, what are you willing to risk?
Yeah.
What are you
Not
willing?
many people would risk that, man.
What are you willing to do?
Yeah.
Right. No, a lot of people would say, I'm listening to my doc. I'm not going. I'm listening to my doc. I'm not going. Right. And then I'm sure and I've met people, Gary. I've met people to this day that tell me, Greg, I could have got a McDonald's and Subway like you did back in the 80s.
Yep.
But they didn't. And now you're 64.
Yep.
And you hate your job.
Yep.
They didn't. And that's sad because I make people, when I'm with my nieces, Gary, my nieces tell people this all the time. My uncle never stops for a funeral because he cares about who's in that casket. I don't know that person, right? I don't know if they're a child molester or whatever. I pull over. I want my nieces to say, look at that person and say, what dream died with them?
Yeah.
What dream died with that person? Could they have been a great carpenter, build houses? Could they have been a great podcaster, a teacher, a professional athlete, the next Mozart?
Yep.
But they didn't. Miles Monroe said the most expensive land in the world is not Paris, it's not San Francisco, not New York. It's a graveyard because of all the dreams and visions that died with that person.
Yep.
So my question to everyone watching this, what dreams will die with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, hey, Greg, I know you've got a time crunch. You got to get to the dentist. I really appreciate you sharing that story. I mean, that's impactful, man. I appreciate it.
Gary, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can't. Can you hear me, Gary?
Yeah, you're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Okay. Well, we're getting to the end of the show. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you good. You can't hear me though. Yeah. Hang on.
Yeah, I can't hear you for some
All right.
reason.
1 second here. Is that better? Can you hear me?
Still can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll send you a text message and stuff. I know you can't really hear me at the moment, but we're ending the show. So yeah. We're out of time, and I know you got to get to the dentist, so I will send you a message here shortly. So, guys, thanks again for tuning in to the Ask the Expert show, and we appreciate it, Greg. Thank you very much.